Why do you think so many people were motivated to vote for you as overall People's Choice MP of the Year?
I'm fairly well known in my constituency because obviously I was a breast cancer surgeon there for almost 20 years in advance, and I bring a lot of the same approach to the work I do as an MP. You know, doing surgeries is very like doing clinics. What is somebody's problem? Can I work out a way to fix it? And I live in my constituency and I'm active in my community, and I've actually quite enjoyed the fact that with those 2 letters after your name you can actually get things done and get people together to do projects that if you were just Joe Public, you struggle. And I really enjoy that part of the job.
When you became an MP and started doing constituency surgeries, were you aware fully of the degree of problems that existed in your constituency and how you might be able to help solve them?
Well, obviously when you become an MP it is a learning curve, it's a different profession, but I certainly was aware of a lot of the social problems. I mean, when you work in healthcare you are seeing people right across the range and you're often meeting people at very difficult times in their lives. Obviously looking after women with breast cancer, you also had women with breast cancer in terrible financial straits. So Macmillan and other charities are involved in helping with that. So I think as a doctor, and I did spend a long time doing, you know, general surgery, emergencies, trauma, you do really see the broad situation in society. So I was aware of that, but learning how to tackle it obviously is a new skill and you have a very steep learning curve. I would say that I was surprised at how often we were able to sort something. I kind of thought we would just meet a brick wall, but actually with great team in the constituency, which I have, you know, we do actually sort out a lot of problems for people.
Did you ever come up against some problems where you thought, wow, I've never seen anything like this before, this is going to be a tough one?
Well, you do, and I still have some that are running over a long period of time, issues around whistleblowing, issues around, I had a couple of veterans with PTSD, frankly being very badly treated by DWP and having to take them on. They took months and months, but a lot of them you get there in the end and you just have to not be willing to give up and just write to ministers, ask to meet ministers, whatever. So a lot of them you manage to push, but some of them unfortunately you don't. You can't always sort everything. And I think it's important to be honest with constituents when you see right at the start, this is actually not something that we're going to be able to change. And you know, I've spent a lifetime in the NHS having to help people face bad news, so I think honesty is really important.
And there are different kinds of disadvantage, particularly as far as young people are concerned. Have you been able to encourage young people who might normally not be friends or not be part of the same social group to actually work more together?
Well, I do some of that in my, if you like, real life, in that I was involved in setting up a youth ministry in our church. My husband and I run the choir, the strings group, help with the brass group, the youth club, things like that. We twinned with a children's centre in Lusaka that rescues street children. So bringing young people together and letting them see this is what it's like in the rest of the world actually was fantastic. I think teenagers have a very strong sense of social justice, and I think when you start to open up what other young people face across the world, you can kind of engender that stepping outside themselves and not just moaning about their iPhone or what they're wearing or whatever. And I think young people now face a lot more challenges than we did, simply because of the internet, social media. The kind of judging people by how they look is even more intense than it was when we were younger.
So what do you think is the most important thing that you as an MP can do to help disadvantaged young people?
Well, I think, you know, going into schools, speaking to young people, you know, taking the opportunity to say, you know, your future isn't laid down in your genes, it's not laid down when you're born, it's really in your own hands. And I often just talk about kind of my own journey. You know, I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I came from the top of the Falls Road in Belfast. When I started in surgery, there were no women surgeons, so I spent a lot of my life with people saying, oh, you can't do that. And, you know, you put your head down, your elbows out, and you just jolly well do it. And I think it's important that you empower young people to basically take on whatever it is that they want to achieve, and to not always see everything in an academic way. Of course, I went through an academic path. You've no choice as a medic. But certainly when I'm speaking to young people who are interested in engineering or trades, I encourage people to look at apprenticeships, to look at all the paths that you can follow to give yourself opportunities in adulthood. And I think that's really important, to not allow them to have that, that didn't happen, I didn't get that, or I didn't pass that, or she won't go out with me, and my life is over. It's trying to give them that sense of, actually you can keep moving forward.
And the role of Patchwork in bringing young people and politicians much closer together?
Well, I think that's really important, and I think obviously it varies. The people who are marginalised is variable across different constituencies. In my constituency, we have some of my towns with actually a particularly ageing population. So actually it's isolation of elderly people that I've particularly done work on around things like dementia-friendly communities, trying to keep people who live in Ayrshire, which is a beautiful part of the country, engaged in the hobbies they had, such as being part of the allotment, keeping them playing golf. We've set up relaxed lanes in supermarkets to try and make it comfortable for people who have early dementia, or when they're out with a carer, that they will feel welcome in our community. So I've probably spent more time, or as much time, at that end of the age spectrum as going into primary schools and secondary schools. And I have to say, sometimes it's the primary schools that ask you the most challenging questions. They're always really enjoyable visits. They pull no punches.
Yes, because they do so with an air of innocence.
Absolutely.
That gets directly to the core.
Absolutely. They see the world as it is. We start putting layers of how we think it should be, and often we're fooling ourselves. I think children just go straight to the point.
Dr. Philippa Whitford, thank you very much.
Thank you.